All right, let's set this to 10 minutes. I'm going to work on side splits or box splits for 10 minutes, and I'm going to mix in some PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation in there. It's a fancy way of saying compress, release. The PNF stuff, if you're not sure, if you're not familiar with that, don't do this unless you do a little research on it. One thing I'll say before I actually get into the pose is when I do that, I will come out of the pose, squeeze, and then go back into the pose. And the reason for that is if you don't, you could do damage. Also, that style of stretching, it's just a little bit of a help in complex poses like this one. I wouldn't use it in a simple pose. So in this case, I'm going to work on my hips. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and it does help. All right, so that being said, I've got my setup. I'm going to start, and here we go. Slide. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm going to try to keep my hips right over, or my waist right over my hip. Come a little bit forward. Okay, that's a good start. I'm going to lean forward for the first bit of this. Oh, yeah. Now, 3 principles plus 1 or 2. Principle 1, I'm going to breathe to relax, 4-8 breathing. Also, I've got my NeoRhythm on. This thing is a PEMF, force pulse magnetic frequency thing. It actually produces different wavelengths, and there's a mode for vagus nerve stimulation. Got a vagus nerve in my neck right here, so hopefully that'll help me calm down. When you get your vagus nerve going online, that's your parasympathetic nervous system, or your fight, flight is sympathetic, and rest, digest is your parasympathetic nervous system. Oh boy, that's getting good already. 4-8 breathing. Into the nose, out through the mouth to make more stimulation of the vagus nerve. Okay. Now, principle 1 was 4-8 breathing. Passive time, not passive, passive resistance or tension over time. That's this. Oh boy. And wet noodle. Now, in this one, it's going to be hard to be wet noodle, but I'm trying to get I'm trying to do nothing with my legs. I'm just letting the stretch happen. Okay, I've gotten into this pretty good now. I want to be able to keep a normal voice like this. If I do much more than that, if I go too deep, I won't get a stretch. What I'll do is I'll be fighting myself. The muscles don't want to do this. They're worried. The spindles in the muscles are saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you going too far, too fast?" I'm going nice and slow. About getting close to 3 minutes in, I'll do the first crunch and release. Now, before I do that, I want to say one last thing. It's how it feels, not how it looks. I'm not trying to do yoga or anything like that. I'm just trying to get a really good stretch. I'm feeling this on the inside right here. My adductors, adductors are definitely getting a nice stretch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first slightly come out of the pose, and I'm also going to use this opportunity to get my weight a little bit more forward so I'm more over the center of my hips. So I'm going to lean forward, come up, I'm out. Okay, now I'm going to squeeze. I'm squeezing my legs as hard as I can. I'm going to keep doing this until I shake. What I'm doing is I'm tricking my muscles into thinking I'm going too far. They're going to want to relax. And then as soon as I'm ready, right about there. Okay, that's pretty good. Start a little more. And I'm going to breathe out. Oh, yeah. Nice. My heels aren't sliding on the carpet as well as I'd hoped. Oh, but you know, it doesn't matter. Oh, boy. I need to come out, actually. It's a little bit too much. Again, if I go too far, I'm fighting myself. I'm trying to simultaneously upscale my parasympathetic nervous system through deep breathing And I'm tightening up so much that my body's going into fight and flight mode. I want the parasympathetic nervous system to be in control here. Again, this is helping a little bit. The breathing is helping. My talking is the opposite of helping. I'm going to lean forward a bit and bring the weight forward and also rest a little bit more into this. Oh, oh, that's nice right there. I would love to have a pillow on this right now. I didn't think about that. Time is going really fast. I'm already at 5 minutes. Most of these kinds of poses, I do 2 to 5 minutes. 2 minutes if it's a focused pose, if I'm hitting just one joint or one thing. But when I start to hit more muscles and more kinds of stretches simultaneously, I'll do it maybe to 5 minutes. So for most of my hip stuff, I do 5 minutes. On this pose, this is one of the this and forward stretches are the only poses where I'll go over 5 minutes. And actually, I say that this is the only pose where I've gone more than 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to do another PNF. I'm going to come out a little bit. Okay, I'm kicking my heels in. I'm tightening everything up. Notice my voice is a bit strained. That's not a fat act. And then, oh wow. Oh yeah. Okay. Why the heck do I do this to myself? I'm going to go through some neuroscience. So we're working on the parasympathetic nervous system. A lot of deep flexibility is about learning to calm down, relax. If your muscles and you are tense, they're not going to relax. You've got sarcomeres in your muscles. They look like this. When you contract, they do that. When you relax, they do this. If you do this, that's bad. We don't do that. So we're going to let them go out a little bit, and you can get back to basic range of motions. Stretching is the yin to the yang of strength. And you don't do this nearly as much as you do strength training. This is 10%. Yoga Body, the last time I heard anything, the Yoga Body Studio, they have something like 35 classes in a week, and 3 of them are the deep stretching ones. Okay, oh, that's a bit too much. I need to come forward. You really need to sort of pay attention to your muscles to make sure you're not doing too much. I haven't got any sharpshooting pains anywhere. I don't feel much in my back at all. My right knee is a bit talking to me, but it's actually on the outside of the knee and it's not inside under the knee of the joint. So it's definitely going to be one of my hamstrings connecting to my knee. Oh, this is feeling really good now. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm in a very discomforting, not very, I'm in a discomforting space and I'm staying there. I am working on my perseverance. I am working on my executive function. My body, the autopilot of my body, does not want me to do this because it's worried. Also, my groin is the part of reproduction, and we have an imperative to reproduce. My body wants to protect my groin. That's another reason why hip stretches are often need more time because you have to fight an instinct that goes all the way back to the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of the earth. Okay, so for you Tai Chi people, I just pushed my fontanelle up. I cannot tuck my tailbone, so I'm working on my spine going up, but really I'm working on my second bow in Tai Chi. And when I did that, oh yeah, that's a lot. I've only done 2 ver rounds of PNF, I'm going to stick with that because I've got more than enough stretch going on right here. So my ego doesn't want me to do this. My body doesn't want me to do this. My ego will say, get out, it hurts. Or my ego will sometimes say, hey, it doesn't look right. Or, hey, you can go deeper. I can go deeper, but I'm going to defeat the purpose of what I'm trying to do, which is relax the muscles, let the sarcomeres express themselves fully. And then I use strength for, I don't remember the word, sarcomere genesis. I can't remember the word, but generating new sarcomeres. Strength helps create sarcomeres, flexing helps stretch. Yang before yin. I will not do any kind of weight-based training today, or at least for 4 hours after doing this. Always this is after. It's in the morning, but I'm going to have a couple of hours of class in the morning, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, there's my time. Okay, now it's going to take me a couple minutes to get out of this, maybe. My legs don't actually hurt, but oh boy, they are so stretched that they don't have any strength. I'm going to push, actually, I'm going to push up here. Oh, okay, that's better. I'll bring in 1 foot. This is not an act. Oh, geez. I just have nothing right in my legs. Okay, that's too much. There we go. Okay, this is what it's like every time on this pose. There we go. I'm out. No act. Okay, I'm not going to lift that leg over. And that feels really nice. Once I get back to neutral, I can very quickly reuse my legs. It's not like it lasts very long. I'm going to do one more pose just because I've got some time and I haven't done this one for a few days. I'm going to do cliffhanger. I'm going to use the wall this time. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to use the wall. I'm going to try a variation of cliffhanger that I've only briefly messed around with. Cliffhanger is a deep shoulder stretch. So cliffhanger is so focused, you don't want to do it for 5 minutes. I'm going to show what it looks like on the wall, but then I'm going to go on the ground and use bricks. Let's get this all the way out of the way. So I'm not going to start the timer. I'm going to face away for a second, excuse me. So I get close to the wall, my head is just touching, and then I reach up the wall, and I collapse into my shoulders. Oh, it feels so good. This is an intense pose. Actually, hello, chest. Maybe I will do this one in here. I'm going to stay here for just a little bit. I'm not going to time it because I am going to do the pose in a different form, and I will time that. Why am I worried about time? Okay, so when I just did that last pose for 10 minutes, the time just flew by. I suppose because I was talking. Oh, this feels so good. Okay, but this is not the form I want to try. I'm going to push up, come out of this pose. I love holding this pose, and I've gotten to the point where I've done it enough that I can tell when it's about 10 seconds left in the pose because my shoulders give out that last bit. I'm going to try a version of this where I use blocks because if you don't have a wall, you can get a nearly equivalent version of this. It's not equivalent, but it's still a great version. And this will stretch your shoulders if you're tight. Most of us hold a lot of tension in our shoulders. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of hair there. So I'm going to 5-minute timer. We get set up. Now, I'm going to start with my knees wide. I'm going to get my arms over here, and then I'm going to try to melt my breastbone or my chest into the ground. So I'll start. I want my arms, I think, like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to stop the timer. That's not high enough. I would need a little bit higher. I don't, well, I guess I'm experimenting. So I'm going to do the pose, but I don't know if that's going to work. I think maybe that's what I want to do. Okay, this is like my hands up the wall and a little bit further back. Okay, I'll do this. Yeah, this isn't really doing much for me. I gotta say, that's not it. I'm gonna try a little bit deeper, or I don't know if this is deeper or not. So again, I've seen this pose. I haven't tried this version of the pose, so I'm actually you're learning along with me. Hey, Chesh, buddy, no more, not now. Lay down. Okay. And I like the cats around me and the dog, but stop it, please. I'm going to be doing something. Thank you. I'm. You can't have an animal disrupt you in a deep pose. It really can do harm. It's done harm to my muscles at least once. Okay, well, we'll try this. One last check. Okay. I remember now. Elbows. Elbows. I have to work on this one. I'm curious about this version of the pose because I teach this class in a room that has some walls, but depending on the number of students, maybe not enough wall space because there's tables around the room. So if I can do this in the middle of the room, it's good. And also, I'm working with a lot of people who are haven't done this kind of stuff, and this is an intense pose, and uh, most people don't like this pose, or and because it's intense. I like this pose because I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders. So wet noodle. I'm there now. I've got my arms relaxed as much as I can. I'm letting my body melt. There's not really much going on with my feet. I've got them pointed or plantar flexed. This is getting right between my shoulders. I would say I'm feeling this, guess about C3. So it's my cervical spine in between my shoulder blades. There's another version of this pose where you're on your knees facing the wall. You're about forearm length away from the wall. I find I need to be maybe about 3/4 of my arm length on the wall. You put your hands up the wall and then you lean into it. Okay, right now, both my arms are feeling a little bit of tingling. During the pose, that's often going to happen. And actually, this happens on the pose as well. When I'm on the wall, I get it in a little bit different place, but it's probably because of where I've got the pressure on my arms. I'm going to push my weight over to one side and adjust this arm just a little bit. Same thing. If you go too far, what you might find is you get some numbness and some tingling. And as long as that numbness and tingling disappears about 30 seconds, that's the 30-second rule, after you're out of the pose, then you probably didn't go too far. But it's perfectly normal to feel that. Gotta let my head drop to the ground. I suppose that my voice is getting pretty loud now. I'll be curious if the ticking that I can hear in my headphone is picked up by the mic. Since the thing around my neck, the white thing around my neck, it's a neorhythm. It produces magnetic frequencies, and when it's close to my headphones, I can hear the ticking of it. Breathe to relax, 4-8 breathing. When you breathe in, it tends to increase your pulse. When you breathe out, it tends to reduce your pulse. That's why we do 4-8. Breathing out your mouth tends to stimulate your throat. Most of us have a vagus nerve on the right connection on the right side of our neck. I believe that I don't know if it's on both sides of the neck. I had one of my doctors said it's on the right side for most people. Uh, I suppose I should check anatomy book. So this version of the pose is more getting
the pinch in my neck that is right where my neck and my shoulders connect, which is actually a good place to get. Um, I don't like what this is doing with my arms, but I'll practice it some more to see if I can figure out. You got to play with these things and figure out how to make them work for you. Everyone's body is different, and it's not about, again, it doesn't matter what this looks like. You may think I'm not doing anything, and I'm certainly not doing as much as if I were on the wall, but I tell you what, I'm getting something out of this. That's 5 minutes. Okay, well, I think that's enough for this morning. Push up. So, I'm going to do a quick recap. We do long hold poses, 2 to 5 minutes typically. The first one I did was 10 minutes because it's a much more complicated pose. Also, it took me at least a minute to get into it once I started the timer. Uh, on the wall, that one is called Cliffhanger, and this one, the first one, was either box splits or side splits. In the 90s, I was able to do the full splits because I used to practice Taekwondo, and I don't know if I'm going to get back to full splits, but I do know that when I started doing some kicking in Bagua, especially in my left hip, I don't want to do this without standing up. I couldn't do this to get my leg back. So now I have a lot more flexibility there. I'm loosening up my IT bands, and it's getting to the point where I can't do a spin kick very high, but I can do a spin kick, and it doesn't feel like I'm going to pop my joint. So science of stretching from Yoga Body. Starting next month in April, I'm going to be teaching this somewhere in Oklahoma City. Hope to see you there, and goodbye.